I want to welcome my studio guests. Good evening, guys. I've got Rob Owen. Thanks for joining us again after your very successful outing at the World Championships. And George Garton, a professional cricket player currently playing for Warwickshire. Out injured at the minute, but you've had an illustrious career. You've been at the Big Bash final, you've been in the IPL, you've represented England, and welcome to squash.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. Tell
us a little bit of your career, just a sort of 30 seconds of George Garton's cricket career so far.
It's a good question. Sort of achieved everything I want to, but not as much as I want to. Played for 11 years now, sort of been around the world playing, but not quite etched myself exactly where I want to be.
And Rob, you've obviously known George and his father. You've been around their family for a number of years now. You've holidayed together, and did you ever think we'd have George here at the Squash TV studio?
I've known George for since he was 6, and I've been planning this for 22 years. So yeah, so I knew he would be. Yeah.
You've had front row seats, obviously, to George's career. Tell us a little bit about how that's unfolded.
Yeah, it's been amazing, really. I mean, I've known George from 6. We've been on holiday with him. I'm best friends with his dad, and you know, I remember watching him play the under-19s in England. Followed his career at 14, 15. You're never quite sure how it's going to go. Then he got picked for the Ashes squad, which is extraordinary as a late replacement when he was 19, 20, and then to see him play for England was obviously incredible. You know, IPL, Big Bash, as you said. So been really good friends and followed his career, and he's followed all the squash players' careers as well.
And you've had him at the squash club. That's right. You've been
We've
on
had
court,
him upstairs
George?
and downstairs in the bar as well.
Yeah, I've been here, there, and everywhere at the squash club. Really enjoy going.
Have you played?
A little bit. I played through school. The Sussex Academy stopped me playing rugby about 16 years old. So the last 2-3 years at school, I played squash instead of rugby. So I've always enjoyed it. Always kept an eye out. So yeah, and it was always nice going down to West Warwick's where Rob is and seeing the lads and mucking in.
I hear you've got a Squash TV membership as well, so you obviously watch a lot of squash. Who's your favourite players?
I'd have to be biased and go with some of Rob's players. Obviously, I know Jonah's from Brighton as well, so I'll go with Jonah. Brighton lad, up and coming, he's doing incredibly well. Hopefully recovers from that shoulder injury quite soon.
And let's talk about the physicality. I mean, you're known as one of the fastest cricketers of all time. I've heard that term being used.
Rob told you that?
A few people have told me that, actually. You're a left-hander.
I've witnessed it.
You're incredibly fast bowler. Compare the sports for me in terms of reaction time, speed, the physicality, the training.
Yeah, I think that the time scale is different. Obviously, we play our shortest games 3 hours long. The longest is 5 days and 6 hours a day. So there's different physicality, different requirements from your body and your mind. I think squash is incredibly fast, incredibly endurance is needed, and quick-paced. And I watch the lads train, and it's incredible how they train, the intensity, the physicality, but also the mental strength to when you're playing an hours-long game, to keep that mental intelligence as well, to know what to play at the right times, not to hit the tin. So yeah, that's really impressive for me.
Yeah, the physicality, you well know too much about that. You've had him doing the 400s with the boys.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little story. I remember George telling it one morning. We've been training, we played a bit of squash, and you always think we have this thing, squash players, the fittest guys in the world, and you sort of tend to sometimes poo-poo cricketers. You see like the old days in the 1980s, and you know, having a few beers after all this sort of stuff. Anyway, these guys are very professional. Turned up, boys doing some 400s. I've got Jonah there, I've got Sam, all the guys, Aitken going round. We always try and do them under 75 seconds, around about 17 minutes rest. I said, George, have a go, do you fancy yourself? So he's come on, no shoes, took his shoes off.
Yeah, I had sandals on him.
Bare feet, he had sandals, bare feet. He's gone round, and he was, the quickest one was Jonah Bryant's. He's 15 minutes in front of him, 60 seconds, under 6 seconds, yeah, unbelievable. Couldn't believe it. I mean, just left him for dead. It was embarrassing. I gave him all the rollicking afterwards, obviously.
But they did go on and do 15 more sets.
They did another 15 more sets.
They did a few more than
George did one. But I mean, it was impressive, very impressive. It just raw pace and speed was wow.
We've obviously been all over the world with cricket. The IPL stands out for me. It's an electric atmosphere. What do you think squash could take from an environment like that, a tournament like that, and bring into our game?
Sure, it's tricky. The IPL is like no other sport, no other team, and no other franchise sort of tournament in the world. We're very lucky as cricketers that it has such a big following in India. And it's sort of surreal when you play in it to have that much support. I played for RCB, lucky enough to do that. They won this year as well. I think they have the 4th biggest fan following in the world of any sport. So it's a good question. What could squash take from it? I think you guys are incredibly lucky with the facilities and the way that squash can be played anywhere. You can take a glass court, put it in any situation. So wherever that I feel as a professional sportsman, when you're playing in front of big crowds, when you're playing in front of atmospheres that make you want to perform, that's when you get the best out of players.
You mentioned that squash is portable. We've played in some terrific locations, haven't we, Rob? At the bottom of the pyramids, Grand Central Station. Where would you like to see the squash court?
I can't wait for the Olympics to see it in the Hollywood Studios, Universal Studios. I think that's going to be amazing. There's all sorts of places you can put it on. There's so many iconic places in the world. Brazil, I thought, some good venues there. UK, Albert Hall, a place like this. I mean, this is pretty incredible as well. The difference is they're getting 100,000 people, we're getting 800 people. Yeah. And that's what I want to see in bigger stadiums.
How do we change that?
Look, I mean, you go to like the Hollywood Super Bowl, 10,000 people outdoors. If the sport keeps growing and growing, that's the ultimate aim, isn't it? You could be on a beach somewhere. There's lots of venues where you might combine it with music, like racing does, for example. Newmark will have racing, they'll have a concert on afterwards. Maybe we can combine it with other sports and do it that way.
George, I'm curious to know, when we speak to other athletes from other sports and we talk about squash, there's a few things they tend to find quite confusing, and one of our jobs is to try and make the sport look as straightforward and understandable as possible. What confuses you the most when you watch it?
It's a good question. I think having played it a lot, I'd sort of know the nuances and a little bit of the rules that may struggle others, and I guess playing paddle now as well, you understand that the ball bounces off the wall and better than you.
Not hard.
And so I guess those rules aren't too confusing. I guess the subjectivity of the rules sometimes, whether it's a stroke or a let or not a let, that can be a bit confusing, and it's interesting to me when I watch live that I make decisions and they're completely wrong, or I agree sometimes and Rob disagrees, and I guess the subjectivity can confuse people.
If you could change one rule, what would it be?
Or in squash?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
No bounces, just everything on the volley, or no decisions perhaps? That would take the subjectivity away from it?
I think there should be more TV reviews. I know watching the other day that there's some that they say that they can't review, and I'd sort of wonder why. You see in cricket and other sports now that everything's televised, everything has the ability to be reviewed, so it should be short and sharp, and it should keep the pace of the game going. But if you can do it quickly and it eliminates those subjective calls, then I think it should be there. So
how important is television then, Rob, to the growth of our game?
Absolutely critical, isn't it? I mean, the more people that view it, the more people have other sports as well watching it. I mean, I think there's a lot of people like George and from other sports that are watching squash, and I think we need to utilise that. TV is critical. You look at the darts, look at all these other things. It's TV that grows the sport. Prize money increases, interest increases, and you don't have to play the sport to enjoy watching sport. And there's a lot of people who've never played tennis, and yet millions and millions watch it. Same with cricket. You know, not cricket is a sort of growth sport in viewing figures. It's a declining sport in actually the participation. And what we're looking for is viewing figures.
George, just going back to your career then, where are you at right now? You're currently injured, I hear.
Yeah, I picked up a stress fracture in my back in the pre-season, sort of over the winter, pre-season wise. On a slow healing process, obviously takes a while for bones to heal, but I'm sort of 7-8 weeks in. Being able to start to run and bat and field again, and being able to sort of do a bit more of my job. The bowling's going to take a little bit longer, but yeah, enjoying my time, trying to help out as much as I can at Warwickshire, and hopefully be on the back on the park soon.
What's a day in the life of a rehab at the minute look like?
It's a good question. Waking up, trying to have a healthy breakfast. They've been really specific on making sure that I supplement well, making sure my calcium, vitamin D is up, making sure that I eat properly. And sort of the best thing the nutritionist said was that I should be in a calorie surplus. I don't need to take care of my weight at the moment, so I've been enjoying my food, which around Rob is fantastic because he loves going out for meals. So I guess eating and training as best I can, but also making sure that mentally I'm still fresh and spending time at home with family, which as sports people doesn't come around all that often. We're travelling a lot, we're away from family a lot, so every time you get to spend with family and friends to take the opportunity.
Well, we wish you all the very best. Thank you so much for joining us in our pre-show, and
thanks for having
good luck with the rehab, and keep tuning into Squash TV.
Thank you very much.
Well, one question that we have been asking today specifically, Miguel Rodriguez's British Open win. Is this the greatest moment in the event's history ever? Let's take a look at that run. joining us in this studio. We've got former world number 2, Peter Marshall. Thanks for joining us, Peter. You've played this event 11 times. You were the runner-up in 1995. Was that the greatest moment in the event's history?
It's got to be up there in terms of one of the best events, one of the greatest achievements. Just to come from, you know, his seeding at the time, in fact he's from Colombia, first South American player to win. I mean, for me personally, I don't think you can get past Jahangir's record 10 British Opens. I actually watched that match, that 10th British Open title
that
win.
That felt like a historical...
That was a real historic win, yeah. And I think everyone knew at that point that's going to be an unbelievably hard record to break, which it still stands today.
I thought Miguel was... I love that. It was brilliant. The thing that amazed me was I never saw him play before like that, really. I never really saw...
What do you mean like that?
Well, the way he played it, it was, you know, there was no sort of disco time. It was really central squash. It was classic squash. He got everything back. It was structured. He just, like, for the first round, he's like a different player.
Yeah, he beat Rami in the first round.
Yeah, it was just incredible. I mean, the people he beat, I think he beat Marwan, didn't he?
Mohammed, Rami.
Yeah,
the list goes on.
It was astonishing, really, and I never really, and it was a shame he never sort of maintained that.
Mossad.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, nobody could say he didn't deserve it, and it was one of the great achievements of all time. And like Marsh said, from South America, it was astonishing. It was in the way he played, and there's still that bit of flamboyance, that South American flamboyance, which you all love. But to me, the greatest was when Jeff Hunt beat Jahangir. It was the master holding off the sort of the guy, it was the emperor against the guy who was up and coming, and he was, I think he was 2-up and 7-3 down in the fourth, and it was about an hour and 40, something like that, and then another half an hour he clawed his way back. In those days, it was hand in, hand out, and it was 7-3, 3-7, 7-3, and he sort of slowly clawed his way back, and he won that last game, 2 hours 10 minutes, and that was a record as well at the time. And obviously, I'm 100 years old, and Marsh probably doesn't remember that.
I do remember that.
But he does, sadly, yeah. But that to me was just quite extraordinary, and I just love the way Jeff played. And to me, it was a fitting end to his career almost, you know. And that was he lost the World Open that year in Toronto to Jahangir, and then that was it. Jahangir was then virtually unbeatable.
Well, moving back to this event, and on the women's side of things, Fairouz Abdelkir taking on Hania El Hammami. That's our first match of today. Now, Fairouz Abdelkir has troubled Hania El Hammami in the past. This was in Paris in 2024. The youngster led 2-1, but eventually lost out 3-2, Peter. And I'm not sure if you remember this, but a lot of people were comparing Fairouz Abdelkir to Nour El Shibini.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched her play a few times now. She's unbelievably technically gifted. She's got great technique, kind of reminiscent of Shibini. I don't know whether she's kind of grew up with her or watched her a lot over the years, but unbelievably solid technique. I think on a day she can put together a string of, you know, just winners and points that a lot of the other girls obviously just can't compete with. But so it's going to be a really interesting matchup today, especially El Hammami losing in the World Open final. So
you think there's going to be a hangover effect there?
I don't think so. I think she'll come back, and I think she'll be really focused on winning this tournament. I think that'll be a mindset. So I'll probably put her a slight favourite just because she'll have that determination just to get through and win this tournament.
She lost out in the semi-final, of course, at the World Championships, Rob. But just back to Abdelkir, what do you make of her as a player?
I've been following from a young age.
I've
watched her play in the British Open. It was very interesting hearing Marsh talk about technique when he used 2 hands. I'm not sure he should be really talking too much about that. I think I'm probably slightly better qualified on that side of things. The mental side and that sort of stuff, Marsh, yes. Physical side, of course. I think technically her and Shibini are the 2 best technical players out there at the moment. I love the way she hits the ball. She can do anything with a squash ball. She can hold it. She can cut the ball in. Her length's great. I think physically it's probably a weakness. And she's playing one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen on a squash court.
So what decides the outcome today then?
I think physicality. I think she'll get too many balls back. I think Hania will win. I think actually if you lose in that World Open a bit earlier, it probably helps a little bit. You know, if you lose the quarter or semis and then that brutal match in the final, wherever it might be, she'll be up for this, as Marsh says, and she'll be ready to. I think the conditions will suit her as well. It'll be a good game, I think, but I can't see Fairouz winning.
Yeah, you mentioned that you think Hania will be not troubled at all today. Go back to that emotional roller coaster. Obviously, she will be disappointed. There's been little glimpses that she's not been particularly happy or her smiley self. She does have Laura here today. How important is that for her?
I think that's going to be really important for her. I mean, like all players, your kind of mental state, how relaxed you're feeling, you know, is so important. And I remember a few months ago watching her, and she just looked totally at peace with herself. and then she was just flowing around the court and playing unbelievably great squash all the time. But like you say, recently she looks like she's just been slightly agitated. I don't know by what, and that seems like that's just impacted her and just maybe just knocked off a few percent of the game.
When you look at her season as a whole, Rob, she turned world number 1 at the very beginning. She's not had any time to celebrate that whatsoever. Has the World Championships tainted that for her, do you think?
Look, I think that I had a similar thing with Paul Colloway, coach, and when he got to world number 1, that brings a different pressure. Without a doubt, there's definitely pressure when you're world number 1. And obviously the Panker hunting, she's gone from the hunter to the hunted. Orvie's suddenly coming through, she's younger than her, and that brings another pressure as well, someone younger. Shabini, she was always chasing, and now she's got the pinnacle. Staying there sometimes more difficult than actually getting there. So there's a bit of extra pressure. I still think she can improve, Hanya. You know, I think if you combine her physicality with the technical side of Farouz, that would be probably the best player ever.
That would be. Just on that, turning world number 1, you had that with Paul. What advice did you have for him, or how were you sort of coaching him when he became the hunted?
I think you've got to just try not to think about it. You know, at the end of the day, if you play great squash, you've got to keep winning. You start thinking about points and rankings and looking around you too much, you've got to distance yourself from that. When Paul got to number 1, we never even talked about it. We literally had that journey from 7 to 1, just kept winning matches, and eventually, oh my goodness, we're world number 1. It just sort of happened. Then when you get to world number 1, all of a sudden you start to try and protect your positions. What are they doing? And that's difficult as a player, as a coach, is trying to remove that sort of pressure, I think.
Well, another man that's gone from being the hunter to the hunted is Mustafa Assal. He faces Victor Crouin today, and Crouin, the Frenchman, has had success against the world number 1 before. This was at the beginning of this season at the Silicon Valley in September, and it completely upset the seedings here, Peter. Victor Crouin getting a win over the Raging Bull.
Yeah, I mean, it's great win for Victor at the time. I think Assal had come off quite a few tournaments back to back where he'd won, and he probably was just, you know, it's so hard to keep that going. But I remember this match, Victor tactically I thought played perfectly. He really stood up the court and actually took the game to Assal, which not normally players feel comfortable enough doing, but he was stepped right at the court, he was volleying, he was actually hitting the ball quite hard and putting pressure on, so almost playing a bit of Assal's game against him, which was an interesting tactic and obviously worked on that day.
Just based off of what Peter's saying there about the tactical execution that he had that day, was that enough of a blueprint to replicate again? He didn't, by the way, in December. He lost 3-love in Hong Kong. Yeah,
I disagree slightly with that. I think Assal was way below his best, and I think Victor's a guy that picks the pieces. I think he's good enough to beat those guys. I think the 1, 2, 3 and 4 play well, he can't beat them. If he plays his best and Assal plays his best, that's not a match. Assal will hammer him, in my opinion. I think he'll win comfortably 3-love. I'd be very surprised. I'd love Victor to do well. I like the guy, I like his professionalism, I like the way he plays.
So what has he got to do then to close that gap? If he's in there at the top 10, he's got his highest world ranking of 6, but you're saying he's still miles off?
I think he's a long way off, yeah. I think he's got to improve everything, or every area of his game. Look, we've talked for a long time. I don't want to criticise the guy. It's a remarkable thing where he's got to, 5 in the world. He went to Harvard University, he missed 3 or 4 years other people had on him. But I just think Assal's special. He's very special, and he overpowers him. He'll just be too strong, he'll body more, and that'll be it.
And Mustafa Assal's physicality, we're always talking about it. I mean, you're trying your best, surely, with Paul Cole to somehow overcome that. Who's going to be the next person to do that consistently, other than Diego Elias? Is it going to be Paul Cole?
Could be Paul Cole. I mean, you're looking at the other match tonight, Zakaria. I mean, I know he's only 18, so you can't compare him physically yet, but give him 4 or 5 years of hard, tough training. I mean, I think he could be one of the next players to come up and really kind of challenge us all. I think other than that, it's going to be, it's very, very difficult.
What is it about his game that you think?
Well, I mean, you just look at how mature he is at 18. I mean, to be able to, the way he plays tactically, the way he decides what shots he's going to play, the way he can adjust his game in between points when he's losing. I mean, the maturity of, some players will never get that maturity. And he's very clever in terms of how he plays. I really like the way he puts a really good kind of forehand, backhand kill, and not too hard, but really awkward shots for people to get back. So, extremely clever player, and it's the physical side really that he just needs to improve, and that's only because he's 18. He'll get there, so they could have some really interesting battles in the years to come.
I'd agree with Pete there. I think the physicality is obviously going to improve. That's a given. He's going to get a lot of strength. I always think he'll add severity to his game. I think the moment he pushes the ball around too much, severity going short particularly. The good guy, the really top players get onto his short stuff and attacking it. Pete's talking about a short game there, but I think that can improve massively. I think at 18 he's probably the 3rd best player I've ever seen at 18. Maybe 3rd or 4th at Grammy. Janko best, and then after that, Zach.
Is Jonathan Power the right guy in his corner?
That's good. I don't know. I look at records. I don't think Jonathan's coached many players. I know he did a lot of work with Diego. Apart from that, he's been coached a long time. I haven't seen many other figures worked with. So the jury's out. Obviously, it didn't work out with Abdullah at all. I mean, he got sort of arguably worse with Jonathan. That doesn't mean he's a bad coach. He might be a great coach. I don't know. We will see. I mean, he is going to be good. You know, anybody coach Zachariah, he's going to be very, very good.
He was at you for a couple of weeks, wasn't he?
I had a couple of weeks with him. Yeah, he was fascinating. I liked him a lot. Interesting character. He's very bright with intelligence. He's incredibly focused. One of the most focused young men I've ever met. And he will be good if no one coaches him. You know, he's a Jansha Khan to me.
Fascinating. Anything else to add there?
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, you mentioned Jonathan Powell. Obviously, he's got an unbelievable background in squash, but I always don't think it doesn't really matter who coaches Zachariah. That'd be my view. He's got it all there. I think it's probably more the mental side. He's got to just have someone who keeps him on track. But you know, you hear him speak about. You know, he's always talking like he is world number one already. So it's in his mind. He thinks he's going to be the best player in the world. He's got that belief. He's prepared to work unbelievably hard. So I think he's just got to just keep it going, not get injured, and just keep with the right mentality.
He's also a guy as well. He will play Diego today. He's lost to him twice in a row comfortably. He will go on there tonight. I think he's going to win.
Yeah.
And he'll always be surprised if he doesn't win. And that's one of the things I love. That's rare. You don't say. I almost feel he can play him 7 times row through his 3 on the 8th time he thinks he's going to win, and he will win eventually. You know, he will get to it.
Well, someone that is winning all the matches at the minute and is very much dominating on the women's side of things. The current world champion, Amina Orfi, is actually the world junior champion as well. And just a couple of weeks ago, the world championships were held in Egypt. And Peter, just how impressive was this week for the youngster?
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, I watched both of these games. Semi-final to beat El Hamami, but then to back it up the next day and beat Shabini in the final, I mean that must be one of the best, you know, achievements in women's squash that's ever happened. And she's only 18. I mean, I don't think you shouldn't look too far away from that. Only 18, and now she's world senior champion and world junior champion. You know, it really is amazing, and she could be on the journey now to being, like an all-time great, and she's got everything there to do that.
And Rob, she backed up match after match, unbelievably well.
Yeah, that was probably the most impressive 2 performances I've ever seen in women's squash. She's been, in my opinion, the greatest player ever in Shabini in the final. The semi-final was immense, and it was physically gruesome. To then turn up the next day, and also fair play to Shabini, she came back about 5 times a match. She looked done and dusted, and then all of a sudden she's gone up in the 5th. She was down in the 5th, then went back, came back in the 5th, had a match ball. It wasn't just the physicality, it was the mentality.
Is she training differently, do you think?
I think she's training differently. She's obviously she's training harder potentially, but she's 18. I mean, to back that up 2 days running, and at the end she was actually getting quicker and fitter. Shabini was running on fumes.
That's surely not science.
Well, you tell me how that's possible.
Well, I'm asking you, that's why you're here.
Marsh, how's that possible? I mean, he used to do that a little bit. And he got chronic stress fatigue though. So
the only player I've seen in men's and women's is Jansha Khan be able to do something like that at such a young age. I mean, you remember he could play back-to-back matches, 5 setters, played Jahangir one day, played Ditmar the next day, and he was only 18, 19, so he did it. But to be able to, especially in the women's game, and have that strength to be able to do that, it is actually quite incredible. And that's really what sets her apart. She can play at a tempo that no one else can play at, and she can keep it going. And at the end of the 5th game, she won't even get quicker. So it's kind of remarkable. Really.
I've never seen a girl. I've seen long matches for 103 minutes. I've seen them before, but I've never seen somebody who was so hard with such intensity for 103 minutes. But she's not slowing the game down really. She's not really floating it around, and I can understand why. Can she sustain that through her career, and will they be told of that when she's 25 and 6? That's a question I'll be asking a little bit as well. I'd like to add a few things in like that, and I think it'd be even better.
Yeah, well, we're talking a lot about the physical side, but the mental side as well. I mean, coming into this event, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding her, surrounding her parents. She's dealt with that as well. I mean, how is she doing she's handling everything incredibly well.
Just shows you how strong she is mentally, and she's probably quite prepared to come out and say some controversial comments and then back it up as well. So yeah, she's an incredible human being to be able to do all of that. And like Rob just mentioned, I actually think quite scarily for the rest of the girls, she could actually get a lot better as well. She hasn't got the complete game yet. She obviously hits the ball unbelievably hard and can do that for 2 hours more if needed. But actually a short game, she's still got room for improvement, and she gets that combined with
improved, Marsh, hasn't it?
With a bit more deception as well. I mean, you know.
So where's the limit then? When she's won one world championship.
Well, there is no limit. She's won a world championship at 18. There is no limit.
How many is she going to win?
I mean, she's going to get better. You know, the other girls have maintained a level for a while, but then obviously then slowly disappear a little bit because these girls are 28, 29, 30. Obviously, Hannah's still young, and Hannah, I think she'll bring the level of girls up. No, but she'll bring the level up. I mean, the other girls going to have to match it. There's a conveyor belt of young Egyptian girls coming through, and Anna Hatzing, there's a whole load of other girls coming through. It's really exciting times for the women's game, I think.
Yeah, it was really interesting going into this one. There was a few different storylines for the top players. Shabini going for that record 9th, Hania going for that first one that still eludes her. And is that going to affect their confidence? Have they looked their best at the British Open just a couple of weeks later, or you know, is the cat amongst the pigeons? Both of them.
Yeah, I think there'll be probably a bit of a physical toll on that match. It takes a long time to go. That was hot. I was there. It's hot. It was hard. It was humid. And I think also, mentally that'll be tough, and physically that'll be tough for her to come back. I do think she's so good that she will come back. And again, she's going to win her early matches comfortably, and then it's really how they handle those semi-finals onwards.
Is she now the favourite coming into this tournament? I mean, Orphy?
I would say so, yeah. I think she's got to be the favourite. But I mean, there's no way you can write out Shabini. She's winning so many major titles, and I do think Hamami is going to come back with a real kind of fight and grit. So it's going to be tough. But I think Orphy's going to be obviously riding on a real high, and she'll be the person to beat.
Well, over to Zachariah. We've spoken about him before, but he's having the season of his life. And look at this graphic here. So in the white on the left-hand side of this graphic, we've got last season, the 24-25 season, and on the right-hand side in the yellow, we've got this season. So a stark comparison to just how much he's improved. If you look at the bottom, I don't know if you can see that, Rob, not got your glasses on, but a 69% increase in total points and 111% increase on his points average in just one season.
Well, I think there's obviously there's a few missing from there as well. He played Australia, New Zealand.
We're just doing the majors here.
Yeah, of course, with the majors, but you have to include those other ones as well because he's playing so well in those. You know, he got the final one and the semis other. What's fascinating to me is Zachary. He played Joel Making twice, and both were actually around about 2 hours. He then played Joel a third time. And I've never seen Joel dismantle them quite that way, you know, and obviously I'm a big supporter of Joel's in many ways, but to see him improve and tactically change when he plays, that's what I'm interested tonight with Diego, because he's lost twice. One time he was exhausted, the second time he didn't play well in my opinion, he got it tactically wrong. I'm fascinated to see how he comes out today and if he changes his tactics and what he does today.
Ter, just a word on that graphic there, what stands out to you?
I just think, he's just getting, obviously 17 the year before, now he's 18, he's just getting older, more experience, and I mean, like Rob just said, the really impressive thing is he could lose to somebody a number of times and then come back and actually become stronger and better, and he's got such unbelievable belief that I just think that if you look at that graph next year, it's going to be the same improvements again.
It's going to go up in the next 3 years.
It's ridiculous to improve so much in one season.
Well, not when you're that good, it's not. I mean, Jan did the same. I mean, Marsh would have, if you had a graphic with Marsh, they hit it on a similar thing. So good players, 18, 19 years old, they improve at that rate. And if they don't, Jonah Bryant will probably have a similar graph percentage-wise. Okay, maybe not as dramatic, and he's 20 years old, but from 19 to 20, the graph is the same for Jonah Bryant as well.
I mean, I'm going to think, you just look at his physique, you look at his body, he looks like a junior, an 18-year-old, and he's nowhere near as physically strong as, most of the guys. So you think if he can get that strength, which he will do, it's then going to be extremely scary for the rest of the guys.
He's going to come up against Diego Elias again today. Obviously, as we're mentioning, he's getting closer to these top players, but the gulf's still quite big with him and Diego.
I think Diego's a tough one for him because he basically has a similar game, but he does it a lot better. He has to make it physical with Diego. I mean, last time he was 9-3 in the first game to Diego. Zachariah got back to 9-all, took about 20 minutes, and then he looked to exhaustion in the second game. So I think it's going to be close tonight. I think every time he plays him, he'll stay on court for longer, and I think I might attack him more tonight. Diego looked very good though last time against him. He seems to enjoy playing, doesn't he?
Peter, what about you? What are we going to see from Zachariah tonight?
I think it's going to be closer tonight. I think he's going to push him more. I agree with Rob. I think against someone like Elias, you've got to be attacking and severe, and you've got to be able to kind of put the ball in short with quite a lot of bite and cut. So he might be able to do that today, but I think he'll push him. And my prediction is a 3-1 win for Elias today, but I think it's going to be closer than before.
I think he needs to step in the volley more today. I think he needs to try and get him behind him. Someone like Ali Frag, who had a fantastic record against Diogo, he got him behind. He volleyed everything, kept him behind him, and Diogo ended up getting tired, so he's got to do that.
Well, hopefully he's listening to that. Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in the pre-show. Thank you so much to all my guests and George, the cricketer, as well. Head over to Squash TV to join in the action for the quarter-finals. Welcome to the Quilter Cheviot British Open 2026. It's a diamond event and it's the last major event of the 25-26 season on the PSA Squash Tour. We're inside the Rep Theatre. We're stage side for part one of the quarter final.